Let's get right into it. Number 10. Knowing anything about plants. Imagine you're standing in a muddy medieval village, someone coughs near you, and you casually say, "Maybe try boiling mint for that." Boom. Witch. Congratulations. In the Middle Ages, if you knew more than absolutely nothing about herbs, people assumed you had a secret side gig with Satan's gardening club. It didn't matter if it was something innocent like knowing chamomile helps you sleep. To them, that was basically dark magic wrapped in a daisy. Back then, medicine wasn't exactly medical. Doctors were busy bleeding people with leeches or checking their horoscope before diagnosing a headache. But if you gave someone a leaf that made them feel slightly better, clearly supernatural. The logic was basically, if science can't explain it, you must be evil or French. And if you grew your own herbs, oh boy, you were practically writing your own arrest warrant. A tiny garden of rosemary and sage was enough for the entire village to whisper like you'd summoned a demon to help with your seasoning preferences. The moment you cured a stomach ache or treated a cut without killing the patient, straight to the pyre, healer girl. Basically, in the Middle Ages, being helpful was a crime. If you handed someone a plant and said, "Try this," the villagers would hear, "I brewed this using moonlight and a pact with Beelzebub." Number 9, owning a cat that looked even slightly judgy. If you had a cat, especially a black one, you were already 80% witch in medieval math. Cats were considered familiars, which is a fancy way of saying animals that sit next to women we don't trust. A cat could sneeze, and someone would accuse you of sending demonic curses through its nasal passages. The Middle Ages were the peak era of blaming animals for human problems. Cow stops giving milk? Witch cat. Bread doesn't rise? Witch cat. Husband gets lost walking in a straight line? Definitely witch cat. People acted like felines were tiny, furry demons roaming the earth to perform evil errands, instead of the bored, opinionated creatures who currently knock your stuff off tables for fun. Ironically, killing cats during witch hunts caused the rat population to explode, which helped spread the plague. Yes, medieval people literally caused more death by killing the animals that could have saved them. But sure, blame the cats. So if you had a pet that glared at villagers with its "I'm judging your entire existence" face, that was enough to turn you into the town's resident broom pilot. Number 8. Being left-handed. Picture this. You're minding your medieval business, churning butter or dodging airborne chamber pots, and you reach for something with your left hand. Instant suspicion. In the Middle Ages, being left-handed wasn't just quirky. It was considered a neon sign that you were spiritually lopsided. People thought the left side of the body was tied to dark forces, chaos, and probably that one cow that wouldn't stop screaming at night. The Latin word for left is sinister, which did not help your case. If you wrote with your left hand, villagers would stare like you were signing a contract with Lucifer himself, even if you were just doodling a badly drawn goat. And if you were good at anything using your left hand, spinning thread, cutting vegetables, petting your extremely suspicious cat, you went straight onto the town watch list. Teachers and clergy would force kids to switch hands because nothing says, "We support you," like physically restraining your dominant limb until you act normal. Basically, if you were left-handed, you didn't need a broomstick. They'd accuse you before you even got to sweep your own floor. So yeah, do something naturally and harmless, but at the wrong angle. In medieval logic, that meant the devil sat on your shoulder and whispered, "Use the other hand." Number 7. Predicting the weather without screaming at the sky. If you ever said something like, "Looks like rain today," you might as well have announced your membership in the Dark Arts Club. Medieval meteorology was, let's call it, vibes-based. People judged weather by the mood of the wind, vague folklore, or whether a goose honked in a suspicious tone. But if you paid attention, like noticing cloud shapes, humidity, or that your knees hurt before a storm, you were in deep trouble. Regular folks weren't supposed to just know things. If you predicted a storm and it happened, witch. If you predicted sunshine and it happened, witch. If you predicted anything and it didn't happen, terrible witch, but still witch. This was a world where everything unexplained got shoved into the magic category. Farmers would side-eye you if you said, "The air feels heavy today," like you'd just confessed to smoking enchanted moss behind the barn. Your ability to sense patterns was there proof you were collaborating with supernatural forces instead of simply paying attention like a functioning human being. Basically, the medieval forecast was 100% chance of accusations with scattered pitchforks. Number 6. Not fitting into the village gossip loop. If you mind your own business, speak softly, or, God forbid, spend time alone, yeah, that's medieval witch behavior. The Middle Ages ran on gossip the same way your phone runs on battery, and if you weren't participating, villagers assumed you were hiding something big. Quiet people were terrifying. If you didn't rant about the weather, complain about livestock, or join the daily "Who ruined the bread today" debate, everyone got nervous. You know how today being introverted means everyone thinks you're mysterious? Back then it meant they thought you were hexing their cows at night. Spending time in the woods? Witch? Reading alone? Witch? Sitting by the river and thinking about life? Absolutely witch. People didn't like what they couldn't categorize, and if you weren't aggressively social, they filled the blanks with probably magical and dangerous. So if you skipped social drama for personal peace, congratulations, you'd basically be the medieval Batman if the townspeople decided Batman needed to be burned. Number 5. Having any medical knowledge beyond pray harder. Imagine someone twists their ankle, and instead of shouting a prayer or slapping mud on it, you calmly suggest, maybe wrap it so it stops flopping around like a sad fish. Bam. Witchcraft. Clearly. In the Middle Ages, anything that even resembled real medical thinking was considered suspiciously competent. If you boiled water before treating a wound, people assumed you were activating the steam spirits. If you washed your hands, congratulations. You just performed a cleansing ritual, you sorcerous hygiene enthusiast. Medieval medicine was a grab bag of random guesses, holy water, and whatever herbs monks hadn't turned into tea yet. So when someone actually got better after your strange methods, villagers didn't think, oh, she understands germs. They thought, the devil is definitely involved. Midwives, healers, and anyone whose treatments actually worked got accused constantly, because nothing freaks out a medieval crowd faster than competence. People wanted medicine to be complicated and mystical, not logical. Curing a fever with cool water instead of chanting? Too suspicious. Using willow bark for pain relief? Unacceptable. It works too well. Basically, if you ever healed someone without invoking a saint, you were one miracle away from getting a torchlit parade you absolutely did not want. Number 4. Being too attractive. Or not attractive enough. Medieval beauty standards were a chaotic nightmare. Look too good? Witch. Look too earthy? Also witch. Your face was basically a personality test that everyone else graded wrong on purpose. If you were pretty, charming, or charismatic, people decided you were luring men with enchantments. Yes, because obviously the only reason medieval men made bad decisions was magic, not the fact that half of them were running on 3 hours of sleep and barley ale. Attractive women were accused of using love spells, which is wild because all they did was mind their own business and accidentally have symmetrical eyebrows. But being unconventionally attractive, as medieval villagers would politely not put it, that was just as bad. If you had scars, unusual features, or anything that didn't match the local wheat-eating population, you were suspicious. People saw a birthmark and thought it was your demonic Wi-Fi hotspot. So yeah, too pretty or not pretty enough. There was no safe middle ground. Your only hope was being aggressively average, blending into the background like a human beige wall. Number 3. Talking to yourself, like a normal human being. You ever mumble while you're working? Hum a tune? Whisper, don't drop this while carrying something heavy? Congratulations, you just summoned demons, according to medieval logic. Talking to yourself was seen as communicating with spirits. If you muttered while cooking, people thought you were enchanting the stew. If you practiced a speech or recited a prayer under your breath, villagers assumed you were cursing the bread supply. The real kicker? People chanted constantly in church, but if you did it alone? Nope. Too weird, too magical. 2. Why is she speaking to the unseen forces? Medieval folks had the same energy as someone who says, I'm not superstitious, but also if you wear that hat again, my crops will die. The human brain talks to itself because it's trying to stay organized, not because it's running a demonic group chat. But try explaining executive function to a guy who thinks thunder is God bowling. Number 2. Knowing how to swim. Outrageous. Picture a medieval villager watching you float in water like some kind of smug, buoyant sorcerer. Swimming wasn't common back then, not because people couldn't learn it, but because they assumed rivers, lakes, and ponds were full of spirits who were just waiting to drag you down like medieval aquatic debt collectors. So if you knew how to swim, oh, you were very suspicious. Why weren't the water spirits attacking you? Why weren't you drowning like a respectable citizen? Clearly, you had made a pact, or were part water demon, or knew secrets humans should not know. Meanwhile, you're over here kicking your legs and practicing the world's saddest dog paddle. Trials for witchcraft even included water tests. If you floated, you were guilty because the pure water rejected your wickedness. If you sank, well, congratulations, you were innocent but also extremely deceased. Medieval justice was basically a series of bad dares performed by people who feared bathtubs. So yeah, being good at not dying in a puddle? Straight up black magic. Number 1, being a woman with opinions. This one, oof. The fastest way to get labeled a witch in the Middle Ages was simply existing as a woman who said things out loud. That's it. Didn't matter what the opinion was. You could say something mild like, maybe we shouldn't store fish in the sun, and someone would whisper, she questions tradition. Suspicious. If you were smart, outspoken, assertive, or asked too many questions, you were instantly threatening. A woman with knowledge was basically the medieval equivalent of a glitch in the simulation, something people desperately wanted to reset. Men who felt insecure about literally anything would leap to the easiest explanation: witchcraft. Why accept that a woman is right when you can accuse her of ruining the crop yield with moon magic? And if you challenged authority, oh boy, you might as well start pricing cauldrons. The Middle Ages were allergic to confident women. They saw intelligence and independence and immediately thought, seems magical. Better light something on fire. Basically, if you had a brain and used it, you were one sarcastic comment away from being declared a supernatural threat. That's all for today. I'll be making similar videos in the future. Subscribe to see them.